Blessed seventh day to you all. Let us continue reading from this book, Thoughts on the Daniel Revelation by URIAH Smith, 1897. And before I do share with you today's reading, I would like to invite you for a word of prayer. Our Father in heaven, thank you so much for this blessed day. May we continue to worship you in truth and holiness, the only true and living God. Through your Son, Jesus Christ, I pray, amen. Here are points that prove identity. For when we have in prophecy two symbols, as in this instance, representing powers that came upon the stage of action at the same time, occupy the same territory, maintain the same character, do the same work, exist the same length of time, and meet the same fate, those symbols represent the same identical power. Now, all the particulars above specified do apply alike to the little horn and the leopard beast of chapter 13, showing that these two symbols represent the same power. It is admitted on all hands that the little horn represents the papacy, and he who claims that this leopard beast does not represent the same must, to be consistent, show that at the same time that the papacy arose, there arose another great power exactly like it, occupying the same territory, bearing the same character, doing the same work, continuing the same length of time, and meeting the same fate, and yet a separate and distinct power, which should be as absorbed as it would be impossible. The head that was wounded, that was the papal head. We are held to this conclusion by the very obvious principle that whatever is spoken in prophecy of the symbol of any government applies to that government only while it is represented by that symbol. Now, Rome is represented by two symbols, the dragon and the leopard beast, because it has presented two faces, the pagan and the papal. And whatever is said of the dragon applies to Rome only in its pagan form. And whatever is said of the leopard beast applies to Rome only in its professedly Christian form. But Rome was pagan in John's day. We live under the sixth or imperial head. This shows us at once the six of the heads, including the imperial, belong to the dragon. If it was any one of these heads which was wounded to death, then it was one of the heads of the dragon, or one of the forms of government that belonged to Rome in its pagan form, and not of the heads of the beast. And John should have said, I saw one of the heads of the dragon wounded to death, but he says that it was one of the heads of the beast that was wounded to death. In other words, this wound fell upon some form of government that existed in the Roman Empire after its change from paganism to Christianity. But after this change, there was but one head, and that was the papal head. Thus, it is placed beyond controversy that it was none other than the papal head that was wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed. This wounding is the same as the going into captivity. Revelation 13, verse 10. It was inflicted when the Pope was taken prisoner by Berthier, the French general, and the papal government was for a time abolished in 1798. Stripped of his power, both civil and ecclesiastical, the captive Pope Pius VI died in exile at Valence in France, August 29, 1799. But the deadly wound was healed when the papacy was reestablished, though with a diminution of its former power by the election of a new Pope, March 14, 1800. See Bauer's History of the Pope, pages 404, 428, Crowley and the Apocalypse, London edition, page 251. This beast opened his mouth in blasphemy against God to blaspheme his name. See, mentioned under Daniel 7:25, the presumptuous titles assumed by the Pope. His blasphemies the tabernacle in heaven by turning the attention of his subjects to his own throne and palace instead of to the tabernacle of God, by turning their attention away from the city of God, Jerusalem above, and pointing them to Rome as the eternal city. And he blasphemes them that dwell in heaven by assuming to exercise the power of forgiving sins, and so turning away the minds of men from the mediatorial work of of Christ in his heavenly assistance in the sanctuary above. By verse 10, we are again referred to the events of 1798. But when the power that had the 1,260 years led the saints of God into captivity, was led into captivity itself, as already noticed. We'll read the next time verse number 11 and following verses in our continuing reading of this book. May God our Father and His only begotten divine Son, Jesus Christ, continue to bless you and to keep you. This is my prayer. Amen and amen.